Counter the meta with this sleeper deck. Hello and welcome to the table, and today I'm back for another One Piece deck tech video. Today talking about the best of the sleeper decks in the current One Piece meta. That deck being Yamato. This deck is a little bit stupid. I just recently played it at an LGS and I went 3-1 with it. The only loss being to a non-meta deck. The 3 wins being against Emu, against Boa, and against Yellow Luffy. I beat 3 of the best decks in the game right now. And I've done plenty of testing with this deck against something like Ace because I was curious. And it's pretty damn good into Ace too. So that's pretty nice. And who knows? I think it could be pretty good into Mihawk as well. So into the meta, this deck's pretty good. Like, pretty good. So I would definitely give it a try. Because this 5k 4 life yellow-green leader has double attack. So it deals 2 damage. That's insane. And as an activate main once a turn, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you can give 2 Rested Dawn to one of your characters. Immediately works against Ace. That's a bit good in my opinion. But so the thing with Yamato is that it's just a double attacking leader every single turn. Your opponent doesn't want to take that, so you're stripping so many cards from your hand, you're getting rid of so many other resources, and eventually you just overwhelm them with stupidity. Whether it's a bunch of 9k double attacking swings from Yamato or another card I'll get to, maybe putting some banish on your stuff, or just playing giant monsters, rushing your opponent's blockers, and just beating them to a pulp. So, it's a pretty fun deck, and a pretty powerful deck. So there's 3 categories of cards I want to talk about. I want to talk about the defensive tools of the deck. I want to talk about, of course, the things that counter or that take advantage of the leader, and the killers of the deck. So starting off with the, of course, defensive tools of the deck, I got Ashura Doji to start off. A card that originally, when this card came out, I had as a 4 of in Yamato, and I cut because of certain deck, Emu, but now I've added it back in. And why is that? Because against so many decks that aren't Emu, this card's just insane. It's so insane to a lot of those decks. Because this 3 power, or 3k power, 3 cost character says on play if your leader has a land or Wano type, and your opponent has 3 or more life cards, you get to KO one of their cards with a base cost of 5 or less. That's insane. And it counters for 1. So if it sucks into, like, you're playing against Boa, well, you want to rush down Boa, you don't want to go for their board. Or you're playing against Emu, none of your stuff's ever going to die. Then don't play it and counter for 1 with it. Because those 1k counters, I mean, they can really matter sometimes. Especially the protect your board. That's mostly what this deck protects. You protect the board, you don't really protect your life as much. Unless, of course, you're going to die. And you're playing against something like Boa, and you just need to race. Getting that extra 1k counter, it can matter sometimes. But this card into, you know, decks that aren't Boa or Emu, it's really good. Like, really good. And you also got some great 2k counters in Dracula Mihawk, a card that is just getting so much better. As more and more slash attribute cards come out, they all seem to cost 4. But so this Mihawk here is a 3 cost 4k, 2k counter character that on play, if you have 2 or less characters, allows you to play a slash attribute character with a cost of 4 or less from your hand, rested, other than Dracula Mihawk. So you get a 4k body that you can put 2 Rested Dawn onto, 2 Rested Dawn onto, with the Yamato leader effect, and you can get a 4 cost 5k, usually, slash card. Maybe a Kinemon, maybe a Kikunojo, preferably a Kinemon, but I'll get to that in a second. Another thing you could potentially play off that Mihawk is one of your 2Ks in Kinemon. So the other 2Ks you'll notice are both slash cards because I want to have as many hits as possible off of that Mihawk so that you are guaranteed to get full value off of that card. You generally want to play that on turn 2. And while this deck does not like going first as much as it likes going second, you still want to play that Mihawk on 2 because you play a Yamato Searcher on 1, then you play a Mihawk on 2, and you play something that costs 4, basically, rested for free. Well, obviously you prefer this Kinemon, but if you need to have a hit, this Kinemon's also pretty nice because it's a 4K or 4 cost 5K body, counters for 2, and it does have a pretty nice trigger too, that if your leader has the land Wano type and your opponent has 3 less life cards, you get to play it. It's awesome. It's a really, really dumb card. Because, hey, it can trigger and play itself. Or it's a 2K body. Or it's something you can play off the Mihawk. I mean, it's just never bad. It's just never bad. Very similarly to Kozuki Oden. Another card. Never bad. It's a 4 cost 5K 2K counter / body. Just like the Kinemon, but it doesn't have a trigger. Instead, it has an opponent's turn effect that, as long as it's rested, gives itself plus 2K power. Your opponent, I mean, it's a 5K body that likely you'll play off of a Mihawk. Worst case scenario. Otherwise, it's a 2K counter. But if you play it rested off of the Mihawk, your opponent can either send 7 into this, maybe kill it, who knows, or they just ignore it, and that's a 5 that they have to deal with every single turn. And eventually, yeah, they're gonna have to care, but they're gonna have to send 7 into it. Minimum. For a 5K Swainer. That's really dumb. Because it can just, I mean, it's gonna get cards out of your opponent's hand, they're gonna ignore it forever, and when they do eventually get rid of it, they just have to put so much more resources into it. It's just nice. And it's a 2K counter as well, so it's just like worst case scenario. You can play it, yes, but it's a 2K counter as well, so it can just get you out of so many situations, it's not even funny. But then, the last piece of defense in the deck is Blaze Slice. A card that I've been back and forth on for a while with Yamato. Originally, when I played Yamato, I had this as like a 2 of, just like it is now. But at some point, I'm like, oh, well, DMG is a really broken and dumb card. Let's try that out. And I played it for a while, and it did really well. But I go back and forth. I think Blaze Slice ultimately is the better card. I think it is. This 1 cost, main or counter event, has a very simple effect. It gives up to one of your leader or character cards plus 1K power for the turn. Okay? And then if your opponent has 2 or less life cards, you rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So, your leader, for 1 resource, is a 6K for the turn. Either on your turn or your opponent's turn. On your opponent's turn, it's even more broken, because boom, now it's that much harder to kill you. On top of that, you also can, do it to one of your characters. You have a really important character that I might get to here in a second, because it's not type locked, it's any character or any leader gains that 1K power bump. So it makes one of your characters or your leader way harder to swing into. And because your opponent is generally not going to have a lot of life when playing against this deck, trust me, it goes very fast. Your opponent also is going to get one of their 4 cost or lower characters just rested. That could be a chump blocker, which is great for you, or maybe it's one of their attackers. That's one more thing that they can't swing into, something on your board, which is generally what you're protecting with this deck, or maybe your life. You need to live for 1 more turn, and you rest one last one of their attackers, make it harder, like you're playing against Boa, for example. You need 1 more turn to kill Boa. You play this, your leader is a 6, it makes it a little bit harder for Boa to hit into you, even though rested done all the crap, and it's all a bunch of 5s, and it's going to be a ton of 6s into you, but you don't have to counter as much. But basically, it's harder for your opponent to kill you, and one of those stupid bodies is now rested. And that just is nice for you. So, Blaze Slice, it's a good card. But then, getting into the next portion of the deck, I want to talk about the cards that just pair so great with the leader. This deck has so many cards that just go so well with the Yamato leader. The first of which being Yamato. The Searcher, of course. This 1 cost 0 power 1K counter character. It's an SR from the starter deck for Yamato, and it's so good in this deck. Because on play, you get to look at the top 5 of your deck, reveal a land Wano type card with a cost of 2 or more. Yes, it can hit the Blaze Slice, but I still think that it's better than DMG. But it has to be something with a cost of 2 or more, and then you add it to your hand, and you put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So you get a top 5 Searcher. That's awesome. But on top of that, there is more to it. So long as there are 2 Dawn under Yamato, on your turn, gets a plus 3k power bump. So basically, you just dealt 2 damage to your opponent. Through means, you could take a wild guess. You'd probably be able to guess it pretty easily. But your opponent now is just taking 2 damage. Now they just so happen to be on 3 life. Or lower. Well, a certain leader effect here gives 2 Rested Dawn to a character. Such as this Yamato Searcher. Boom. That's 2 Dawn. For each Dawn under it, 2k power bump. But hey, 2 Dawn under it? Well, it gives itself another 3k power bump. Yeah, it's a 5k swing now. And it's a 0 power character. So yeah, it's easy for your opponent to get rid of. But, I mean, that's just a little tiny crapper that they have to get rid of. Or it's a 5k every single turn. And yeah, if your opponent has like a 2k searcher out on board, yeah, sure, they can kill it that way. But it's just nice to have a searcher that once it's done searching can still put aggression on the opponent. That's just insane to me. That's so broken to me. But not quite as broken as Onami. A card that I'm so pissed off is not searchable with this deck because it's Nami in the Land of Wano outfit and it's Onami. Not regular Onami, but Onami. That's the Land of Wano Nami, and it's not Land of Wano type. That pisses me off. But you still play it, because this 2 cost 3k, 1k counter character is a very simple line of text. On play, up to 1 of your leader or characters gains banished during the turn. And it triggers to KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. That's nice, not into Emu, but into everything else. And at this point, I don't care anymore because Emu, just screw you. I want to play stuff that still gets value against a ton of other decks that aren't you. So, yeah, I'm going to run this, and I'm going to be very happy because of the trigger. Because, yes, when I'm not playing Emu, which, of course, this is only going to trigger when I'm playing against Emu, but still, it kills 1 of your opponent's 5-cost characters. That's nice. But the reason I run this over a card called Izo, which does a very similar thing, but it can give, can basically get blocker. The reason I'm running this over it is because, yeah, it's not searchable, but that trigger's nice, and it can give 1 of your characters banished, which I'll get to why that's important here in a second. But let's just say there's another double attacking character in the deck, which is pretty good. But so Onami counters or pairs so well with the Yamato leader, but not as well, in my opinion, as Kinemon does. A card that you want to play off of the Mihawk. You want to play the Yamato Searcher, then you want to play the Mihawk. On 4, you have 1 Dawn left, and you get to play the Kinemon. A 4 cost 5k / 1k counter character that on play sets 3 of your Dawn as active. Then you can't play characters during this turn, but you set 3 Dawn as active. So on your second turn, you have the 4 Dawn, you play a Mihawk. Playing this rested. Boom, you restand 3. You basically spent no Dawn to play a 4k and a 5k body. Now, you can put that 4 Dawn on Yamato and send 9 double attack into your opponent on turn 2. So, I think that's pretty good, because your opponent, I mean, yeah, they can counter, but that's going to be a minimum of 3 cards out of their hand, or counter events, both of which you're fine with, because you need to run your opponent out of those resources, because once you get to a certain point in the game, you have a wide enough board, or you have enough very scary characters on board, your opponent, I mean, yeah, they spent resources to counter early, but now they're not going to have enough to counter at the end, and then they're just going to die, and they can't do a thing about it. But yeah, this is a very good card to play early, to get more cards out of the opponent's hand. And on top of that, your opponent doesn't like killing it, to a point. Because on KO, you get to rest 1 of your opponent's cards. That can be a Dawn, that can be a leader, that can be a stage, that could be a character. Maybe a character with blocker. Who knows? Either way, it's really annoying, and it's a common. Probably one of the most broken commons that I've seen in a minute, but it's a common nonetheless. But then, on top of that, there is Kikunojo, a card that doesn't counter as well as a lot of these other cards with Yamato, but I want to bring it up. Mostly because of the fact, hey, it's an Arthur and you can play off of the Mihawk. It's a 4K, or it's a 4-cost slash body. And it has 6K power, which is great. But on KO, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. And it triggers, saying if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you get to play it. The main reason I'm bringing it up, that it counters and pairs well with Yamato, is simply because of the fact that you want your opponent to be at 3 or less life. And then the second you do that, you get good value off of the Yamato leader, yes, but then you also get a ton of more value off of a lot of other cards in the deck, like Kinemon that we've seen before, but also the 2K counter Kinemon, but also this Kiku, because, hey, it heals you when it dies, and it's a 6K body, so your opponent doesn't like healing it, but hey, it's a 6K. But on top of that, it can trigger and play itself for free. I mean, it's one of the most broken triggers in the game. It's one of the best yellow cards in the game, and it's a rare, and it's searchable. And you can play it off of Mihawk. It's just there's no downsides to the card. Yeah, it doesn't counter Shucks, but it's still absurd. Then, a card that I want to talk about next is Yamato. The EB03 Yamato. Technically, as of recording this video, and when I post this video, this card will not be up yet. We are still going to be in the OP14 Western meta, which means no Yamato from EB03. Now, granted, if you want to play this deck in OP14/EB04, I would personally put in 4 copies of Toniyasu, a 2-cost, I want to say 2K Landawano type card that, as an activate main, can pop itself, give your Landawano type character or leader plus 3K power for the turn. It's not nearly as insane as this card, yes, but it won me a game against Boa where I otherwise wouldn't have been able to win. So it's definitely valuable in a sense because, you know, I mean, it allowed me to win against one of the best decks in the game, maybe the new best deck, you know, out of like the latest set, out of everything from OP14, just maybe the best deck out of a bunch, and a simple 2-cost guy from like OP04 allowed me to do that, so it's worth having. But until then, I mean, if you want to play on the sim, play this over the Toniyasu. And once EB03 comes out, immediately take out the Toniyasus and put in this Yamato, because it's absurd. It's a 5-cost, 6K, 1K counter body that on play gives 3 Rest to Dawn to your Landawano type leader. That's already an absurd start, because, again, you like to play even. So you're going to have 6 Dawn. You put 3 Rest on the Yamato. No, you gotta put 1 more active on the Yamato. That's a 9K swing again, which is stupid. And it's a 6K body. And, you know, it has a decent on KO too. It trashes the top card of your opponent's life cards. Yeah, it's searchable. It can basically make your leader into a 9K. And you don't ever see it die. It's never gonna die. Your opponent's never gonna kill it. Or they do, and, you know, they lose a life. Both of which you're happy with. So, the card's stupid. It's, like, gotta be so stupid. But then, on top of that, last card I want to talk about is Monkey D. Luffy. A card that I am loving more and more and more and more. Mostly in RG Luffy, but in this deck, it's pretty busted too. So this is a 6-cost, 7K, no K counter character, not searchable, but it has double attack, which means it pairs absurdly well with Onami, which is why Onami's being played in the deck. But on top of that, it's just a double attacking body that has 7K power. That's great. And on play, if your leader is multicolored, it is, you get to set up to 4 your Dawn is active. Then you cannot play characters with a base cost of 4 or 5 or more during this turn. So you have 6 Dawn. You play this Luffy. Boom, you get 4 more active. You can either put all 4 of that on Yamato and send in 9, or you can play a Kinemon. This Kinemon to be specific, and then send in 8. Either way, you develop bodies, your opponent's crying, and you're a happy, happy camper. So, this primarily is the reason why you want to go second. You have a lot of evens, yes, but also because of this card. Because, I mean, this, if you can play it after you play something like a Kinemon on turn 2, your opponent is just gonna be crying so hard. And it's primarily the reason why you can win into the meta, because you just play things just turn after turn as a body, and it sets Dawn as active that you can put on the Yamato, so your opponent has to deal with more bodies, and they have a giant double attacking leader coming in at them at the same time. So what are they supposed to do? So it's nice. I think it's a very, very nice card in the deck. But then lastly, I want to talk about the killers of the deck. Now, some of these also are kind of like cards that really go well with the leader, but I mostly want to talk about them as just like kind of end game finishers. The first of which being a 3 of Kozuki Momonosuke. A 6 cost 7k body that during your turn, if your opponent has 2 or less life cards, your leader gains plus 1k power. Great start, because hey, my leader's now a 6k, basically. And I put Dawn on it through means which you have hopefully, seen throughout the deck. And now it's just even bigger. But on top of that, besides the fact that it makes your leader a bit bigger on your turn, and it's a 7k body, it can also, attack immediately. Because as an activate main once a turn, you can take 2 of your currently given Dawn, which probably gonna be given out by the time you play this, thanks to your Yamato leader effect, and then return them to your cost area rested. Then this character gets Rush and plus 1k power for the turn. So, you sent in potentially a 9k double attack with Luffy or something like that. Or maybe a 7k attack with Kinemon. And now, you play this Momonosuke, and it's an 8k Rush. And now your opponent is not wanting to go down to 2 life, or maybe they already are, and now Yamato is a 6k double attacking leader that they have to deal with every single turn. So that's nice. It's a really, 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 really dumb card. But not quite as dumb in my opinion as Hody Jones. A card that, if it was searchable, would immediately be a 4 of, but it's not, so it's just a 3 of. But Hody here is a very, very good body, because it's a 7 cost 8k Rush that on play rests up to 2 of your opponent's Dawn or characters, and then says you add the top card of your life to your hand. Yes, that last part sucks. It's unfortunate. But you have an 8k Rush, which your opponent is just every time you play this, your opponent's gonna cry, because it's just like, it's an 8k Rush, that's a great freaking start, and on top of that, 2 of your opponent's blockers are now gone. Or you're playing against something like Emu, one of their blockers in their last Dawn, or maybe 2 of their Dawn are gone, because now they can't use their counter events. And now, they just die. Hint, hint, wink, wink. This is how I won against Emu. So it's a very, very, very good card in the deck. You kind of need it. So Hody here, it's very, very nice. And very, very good. And if there's any card that I would immediately get for this deck that you don't already own, it is this, because it is just good. I mean, yes, this Monkey D. Luffy is better in ways in my opinion. However, it's like a $20 card, whereas Hody here, it's like a couple of bucks. So it's a fair bit more budget friendly. And it's also still really, really good in the deck, like equally as good as the Secret Rare Luffy. But then lastly, I have a 2 of Shanks. Also not searchable, also not very useful a lot of the time, but it's a nice ace in the hole when you need it. When the game goes a little bit longer, this 10 cost 12k body that does not counter allows you to set all your Dawns active, but then you can't play any cards from your hand during the turn. Shucks, you have 10 Dawn to play around with. You basically developed the 12k body for free. And now, you get to play around with all the Dawn you want. Maybe throw them on to some, Luffy's. Maybe throw them on to your Yamato leader. Maybe throw them on to one of your other many, many giant threats. And then just get your opponent down to nothing. Maybe even kill him, who knows? If the game's gonna go a little bit longer and you need that just final nail in the coffin, or you need to develop a big body to last one more turn while still putting pressure on your opponent right away, this Shanks is just so good. It's niche and it's not useful too much of the time, but it is very nice. And against something like a Yellow Luffy, for example, or a Mihawk, or even an Ace, the card's just insane if you get it, if you play it. So I think, yes, you can't search it, but it is a valuable to have. And that's the deck. I think it is a very, very good deck. And in OP14, yeah, the Toniyasus over the EB03 Yamatos, they're fine. They're really good. And they can still allow you to win games that you otherwise wouldn't, like it did in the Boa matchup for me. However, this deck, while it counters the meta right now, trust me, it does. It is so good into the meta right now. It's going to get even better. It is going to get even better with the next set, with EB03. Once EB03 comes out, yeah, the meta's going to change up. Some decks are going to drop. Some decks are going to get better. I think Boa's going to get better, honestly, which sucks because I don't like Boa. But once EB03 comes out, this deck is going to be so stupid, and you're going to need to keep an eye out for it because this deck will be a monster thanks to the EB03 Yamato. And it's going to be so aggressive, it's going to be so strong, and it's going to do so much, and your opponent's not going to be able to stop you. So, if you want to play a deck that is a little bit broken, and a little bit broken, and a little bit broken, a lot broken, you know, gonna be one of the, in my opinion, best decks to play into the next meta, the EB03 meta, check out this Yamato list, because it's an absolute blast of a deck, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, it's completely free, you won't regret it. Check out my other OP14 deck videos, linked down below, or to the side here. You can check them out here too. Maybe check out my pack opening series, check them out there. And it's just, have a blast. Have a blast playing One Piece. Have a blast checking out the videos, checking out the other decks, and just getting to see the stupidity that this game keeps creating and keeps allowing us to have so much fun with. So I'll see you all there.